Hi, this is This Guy Edits, where you can see this guy edit.
Scene 84 Kilo, take one.
Today, I'm talking about the upside of procrastination.
Action.
As you might know, I'm currently cutting a feature directed by Mark Webber. There's something in this movie that we're gonna hold back, but I left out a couple of scenes along the way. And one of these scenes we're gonna deal with today. We all would get so much more done if we weren't procrastinating all the time. There's a great article from Tim Urban that talks about finding yourself wandering off on the internet, checking your email, your Facebook or Twitter, and before you know it, an hour has passed, you didn't get anything done, and now you're too exhausted to do any good work. Procrastination is a growing problem. With the overstimulation, with the vast amount of social media, and our brain naturally desires distraction because it's constantly looking for a dopamine push. Tim offers some tips on how to beat procrastination. But there's also a good kind of procrastination, and I want to talk about that as it applies to editing. I've been practicing it for a while, but I wasn't really aware of it until I came across a tech talk by Adam Grant. He figured out through some experiments that there actually is some kind of procrastination that some of the most creative people apply that's actually quite helpful. The idea is that you start on something, then you push it off, and then you come back to it. And what that does is it gives your brain enough information to start the process of figuring out solutions. And then you give it time before we actually act on it by procrastinating, by pushing it off. And then when you come back to it, you already have figured out so many of those decisions before you actually do the work. So here's how I apply procrastination when I'm editing. Whenever I start a scene, I divide up the process in 2 days. On day one, I just look at the footage. For example, this scene here, we have a multitude of shots. It's basically Mark waking up and he's sneaking out. So his brother is still sleeping. He's also checking on his mom. Then he writes a note, takes a pushpin, comes down the stairs, puts a note on the wall. The note says, "I love you, keep going," and then he disappears. This scene, in the context of the movie, sets him up to go on a journey. Pretty simple scene. A lot of shots. I looked at them all, picked all my selects here, but then I stop there and I walk away. Now it's the next day and I pretty much figured out what I want to do with this. I'm seeing 3 or 4 shots, and this is something that I figured out in my head. I want to use 2 POV shots. One, cut to the next shot. Like this. And then I'm going to cut to this shot. That's an option. Let's see what else we got. I think I like this better. And I'm done. That's the scene. So basically now I'm just refining this. Maybe I'm not even going to do the pan. And I'm out. Traditionally, what I would do is I would just cut it out straight. I would use every shot that the director intended and tell the story, and then I would start honing and honing and honing, and eventually I would end up at the same result, which is basically it's going to be a 3-shot scene. Because you're just focusing in what matters, what's important. And I guess that comes with experience. The longer you've been editing, the more you can make these decisions without actually having to see them play out on the computer. But here's what's important. Number one, really take the time and look at the shots, prepare well so that your brain has the information it needs to make the right decisions. And then walk away. That's number two. And I mean that literally. Like take a walk and think about it. Or shower is great too. Your brain just subconsciously starts working on these creative decisions. Number three, don't wait too long. Come back the next morning, especially when you're still fresh and energized, and then start cutting. If you wait too long, you might forget some of the shots that you've processed. Number four, really use the momentum to drive towards results. So don't get hung up on details. Just execute on the big decisions that you've made. Number five, then when you're done, revel in your success. And what I mean is look at it and just process it one more time. Oftentimes I look at a cut repeatedly several times, and then 3 days later suddenly I figure out a tweak that I want to do with it. Aaron Sorkin put it perfectly. He says, "You call it procrastination, I call it thinking." And with that, I end this episode with one single cut, the segment where I ask you to make a single edit. See you next time.